Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to our webinar about climate change adaptation on European islands. I'm Anja Thompson from CONAMA Foundation, and well, as we already said, the webinar will take place in English, but now the institutional welcoming part and the presentation of our project we will make in both languages, in English and in Spanish, because we have quite a big audience of Spain. Hola, bienvenidos a todos. Bienvenidos al webinar sobre la adaptación al cambio climático en las islas europeas. Es un webinar que va a tener lugar en inglés, pero ahora la parte de bienvenida institucional y la presentación del proyecto la haremos en ambos idiomas, en inglés y en español. Paco. Gracias, Paco. Si tú quieres.
¿Empiezo ya? Sí. Muy bien. Pues, buenos días. En nombre de la Oficina Española de Cambio Climático, que es parte del Ministerio Español para la Transición Ecológica y el Reto Demográfico, pues quería en primer lugar agradecer la amable invitación de la Fundación CONAMA para aportar unas palabras de bienvenida en este acto. Somos plenamente conscientes de que las islas poseen vulnerabilidades frente al cambio climático que justifican sobradamente un tratamiento específico desde la perspectiva del análisis de los riesgos y la adaptación. En el ámbito ecológico hay que destacar que las islas poseen una vulnerabilidad añadida que se deriva de factores como el pequeño tamaño de muchas de sus poblaciones, animales y vegetales, o la menor conectividad en relación con otros territorios emergidos, que dificulta las migraciones o la recolonización tras los impactos. En el ámbito socioeconómico, las islas poseen a menudo economías poco diversificadas y por ello más vulnerables frente a los cambios, y además poseen riesgos específicos en áreas como el suministro de agua o energía, que también son sensibles a los efectos del cambio climático. En definitiva, poner un foco específico sobre las islas en materia de adaptación pues es necesario. Y en este sentido, el proyecto de la Fundación CONAMA, Conexión Insular para facilitar la adaptación al cambio climático, nos parece enormemente pertinente y estamos encantados de haber hecho nuestra aportación para lograr que el proyecto salga adelante. Como quizás sepáis, algunos de vosotros y vosotras, el pasado mes de septiembre, siguiendo el compromiso establecido en la Declaración de Emergencia Climática hecha por el Gobierno, el Consejo de Ministros aprobó el Plan Nacional de Adaptación al Cambio Climático 2021-2030, que marca la hoja de ruta para actuar frente a los impactos y a los riesgos derivados del cambio climático en la década que ahora empezamos. El objeto de este plan es facilitar la integración de las actuaciones de adaptación en los distintos campos de la gestión pública y privada, y para ello el PENAC define 18 ámbitos de trabajo, entre ellos algunos que son muy relevantes para el caso de las islas españolas, como el campo del agua y los recursos hídricos, el del patrimonio natural y la biodiversidad, las costas y el medio marino o el turismo. Me gustaría también resaltar el énfasis que el plan da a las denominadas soluciones basadas en la naturaleza. Creemos que el cambio climático constituye una amenaza para nuestro patrimonio natural, pero somos conscientes de que la naturaleza también puede ser parte de la solución. Por ello, creemos que las soluciones adaptativas deben inspirarse y apoyarse en el funcionamiento de lo natural, buscando beneficios ambientales, sociales y económicos y creación de resiliencia que se asocian con el hecho de que las soluciones guarden coherencia con los procesos naturales. Well, now I'd like to say a few words in English for our English-speaking guests. Dear colleagues and dear participants, as acting head of the adaptation unit that is part of the Spanish Office of Climate Change. I'm glad to welcome you to this webinar on European case studies on adaptation to climate change in islands. We are fully aware that islands have specific vulnerabilities to climate change, which require specific analysis from the adaptation perspective. In order to enhance our adaptive capacity, strengthen resilience, and reduce vulnerability to climate change, it is necessary to develop a shared vision of the risks we face. Turning adaptation into a challenge shared by society will be easier if interested or affected parties have relevant information about risks and solutions. The dissemination of knowledge on practical cases of adaptation to climate change is essential to guide adaptive action in Spain and in Europe. Better knowledge of the experiences being developed, solutions applied, successes achieved, and lessons learned promotes a wider practical application of knowledge on adaptation, reinforces confidence, inspires change, and has a multiplier effect to face the climate emergency. Well, finally, I would like to extend our warmest congratulations to the CONAMA Foundation for this initiative, and our special thanks to our European colleagues who will be presenting their experiences at this event. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Paco. Thank you very much, Paco, for your welcoming words. Muchas gracias por las palabras de bienvenida. Voy a proceder a presentar nuestro proyecto que se llama Conexión Insular para facilitar la adaptación al cambio climático. Es un proyecto que cuenta con el apoyo del Ministerio para la Transición Ecológica y el Reto Demográfico a través de la Fundación Biodiversidad. Bueno, al principio de todo voy a decir un par de palabras sobre nuestra fundación, la Fundación CONAMA. Es una fundación española con sede en Madrid que es independiente y sin ánimo de lucro. Y el objetivo principal, para decirlo es así, es promover un diálogo abierto con todas las partes implicadas para avanzar en la sociedad hacia un desarrollo sostenible. Y trabajamos tanto en España como en Iberoamérica. Todo el tiempo estamos trabajando en diferentes proyectos y ejes temáticos como movilidad, agua, soluciones basadas en la naturaleza, pero el evento más importante o más destacado seguramente es el Congreso Nacional de Medio Ambiente, que se celebra cada 2 años. Estaba previsto para el noviembre del año 2020, pero debido a la situación pandémica se ha pospuesto hasta comienzos de junio ahora y va a tener lugar en el Centro de Convenciones Nortes del IFEMA en Madrid. El proyecto Conexión Insular enfoca los archipiélagos españoles, es decir, las Islas Canarias y las Islas Baleares, y cuenta con 3 objetivos generales. Primero, quiere identificar y divulgar el conocimiento existente en materia de adaptación al cambio climático en los archipiélagos españoles. En segundo lugar, también queremos conocer la percepción de los principales agentes socioeconómicos en materia de cambio climático. Y por último, también es un esfuerzo para reforzar la coordinación y cooperación tanto entre agentes de Canarias y Baleares como también con agentes de la península. El proyecto consiste de varias fases. En una primera fase estábamos recopilando información y escribiendo un informe sobre la adaptación al cambio climático en estos archipiélagos. Tiene como 2 partes. En la primera parte se estudian los impactos del cambio climático en estas zonas y en la segunda parte proponemos muchas medidas de adaptación y tiene como una estructura según sectores, es decir, hay un capítulo sobre agua, otro sobre biodiversidad, otro sobre costas, etc. En la segunda fase hemos organizado 2 jornadas de trabajo, una que tuvo lugar presencialmente en Mallorca con actores de Baleares y otra que realizamos en un formato online con representantes de Canarias. Ahora la fase 3 está perdurando hasta el momento que tenemos un grupo de trabajo online. Son también agentes de Canarias, Baleares y de la península y tienen como un foro para intercambiar experiencias, eventos, noticias, documentos de interés y reciben cada 2 o 3 semanas un boletín también con, bueno, noticias interesantes. La fase 4 es como la fase final del proyecto. Tendrá lugar en CONAMA 2020. Se va a organizar una sesión pública donde se van a presentar los resultados del proyecto, pero también queremos crear allí un espacio para mostrar experiencias o proyectos de la adaptación al cambio climático en islas. Y en CONAMA está previsto que mostramos proyectos de Canarias y Baleares. Y el webinar de hoy, que forma como parte de ese evento de la sesión, ahí vamos a hablar de experiencias europeas que también trabajan de la adaptación en islas europeas. Como ya he dicho, es como la fase última ahora del proyecto, pero nos gustaría seguir trabajando en esa línea de trabajo y estamos buscando nuevos proyectos y estamos abiertos a colaboraciones para poder mantener esta línea de trabajo. Los objetivos del webinar son, por un lado, conocer las experiencias en materia de adaptación al cambio climático en las islas europeas y, por otro lado, también crear como un espacio para fomentar sinergias enfocando la insularidad. Aquí podéis ver el programa que vamos a seguir hoy. Vamos a ver presentaciones de 7 proyectos diferentes. El primer proyecto, el Life IP Climas, es un proyecto que trabaja la adaptación al cambio climático de manera transversal y tiene lugar en las Azores. El proyecto Itrausa trabaja o enfoca la economía circular del agua, mientras que el Adaptoclima es un proyecto de adaptación del sector agrícola. Luego tenemos 2 proyectos, NESOI y Música, que enfocan el sector energético. Hay un proyecto Women on Islands, Leaders of Sustainable Tourism, sobre turismo sostenible. Y por último, escucharemos sobre la biodiversidad en el proyecto Adapt to Island. Las presentaciones de los proyectos van a tener lugar en inglés, pero en unos días os mandaremos un resumen de las presentaciones y un resumen tanto en inglés como en español. Además, vamos a activar en el Zoom los subtítulos automáticos porque ayuda a seguir las presentaciones, pero como es un programa automático, cuando vemos que lo que está escribiendo no tiene que ver con lo que se está contando, lo vamos a desactivar. Y por último, quería comentar que si tenéis preguntas, podéis usar el programa de Zoom que se llama Preguntas y Respuestas. Tenéis un icono abajo donde podéis escribir las preguntas. Si son preguntas específicas, por favor, escribir el nombre del ponente que podría responder a esta pregunta. Pero si son preguntas más generales, podéis poner general o global. Y como tenemos un espacio reservado para el debate al final de la presentación o al final del webinar, ahí se podrían responder preguntas. ¿Cuántas? Eso ya depende del tiempo que nos queda al final. Bueno, ahora voy a hacer esa misma presentación en inglés y ya vamos a comenzar con las presentaciones. First of all, I want to present you our project, which is called Insular Connection to Facilitate Climate Change Adaptation. It's a project which has the support of the Ministry of Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge through the Biodiversity Foundation. First of all, some words about our foundation. CONAMA Foundation is a Spanish independent and non-profit foundation. We have the office in Madrid. And the main objective of our foundation is to promote a dialogue with different stakeholders to promote sustainable development in Spain and Latin America. All the time we are working on different projects and thematic axes like mobility, water, energy, nature-based solutions, and so on. But the most remarkable landmark is the National Environmental Congress, which we are organizing every 2 years. CONAMA 2020, it was supposed to take place in November, but because of the pandemic situation, we had to postpone it, and now it will take place in the first week of June in the Fairground of Madrid. The project Insular Connection is focusing on the Spanish archipelago, so on Canary and Balearic Islands, and it has 3 general objectives. The first one is to identify and disseminate the existing knowledge on climate change adaptation on the Spanish archipelagos. Also, we want to get to know the socioeconomic agents' perception of climate change. And last but not least, we want to strengthen the coordination and cooperation between key agents of the Canary and Balearic Islands and other Spanish actors. The project is consisting of different phases. In the first phase, we were writing a report about climate change adaptation on Balearic and Canary Islands. The report is made up of two parts. In the first part, we were studying the impacts of climate change in different sectors on these islands. And in the second part, we are proposing adaptation measures to adapt to climate change. In the second phase, we were organizing some workshops. One workshop which took place in Mallorca with Balearic stakeholders, and another workshop in Canary Islands, but due to the pandemic, we had to make it online. Now we are in the phase 3. We have an online work group. Members of this work group are also Balearic, Spanish, and Canarian representatives. And they have like a platform or a forum where they can exchange news, events, and documents about the topic. Also, they receive a newsletter every 2 or 3 weeks. In CONAMA 2020, we will organize a public session. This is the phase 4 of the project, where we want to present the results. And we also want to create a space to present projects about climate change adaptation on Spanish islands. We had the idea also to present it about European islands, but with the pandemic situation, we thought it would be better to make 2 events out of 1. And so the webinar now we organized for European experience on climate change adaptation on islands. And in CONAMA, we only want to show Canarian and Balearic projects. It's also good because we have more time. So CONAMA is like the final or the end of our projects, but we would like to go on to continue working in this area. And that's why we are exploring new projects. We're looking for new projects, and we are open to collaborations. The objectives of the webinar are to get to know projects in terms of climate change adaptation on European islands and to foment synergies which focus on insularity. This is the program of today. We have 7 different presentations of different projects. The first project, Life IP Climas, is a more transversal project which takes place on the Azores. Afterwards, we hear about Hidrausa, which is focused on circular economy in the water sector. Then we hear about Adapt to Clima in the agriculture. 2 projects, NESOI and Musica, are tackling the energetic sector. Afterwards, we hear about Women on Islands, Leaders of Sustainable Tourism. And last but not least, Adapt Island, which tackles biodiversity. The presentations will be held in English, but in some days we will send you a summary of the webinar and also the presentations, and we will send it to you in both languages, in Spanish and in English. Also, I want to tell you that we will activate the automatic subtitle tool of Zoom to help to follow the presentations. If we see that, as it is an automatic system, that Zoom is writing stuff, we just will deactivate it. And if you have any questions, you can use the system which has Zoom of question and answers. Below you see an icon or an item where you can touch and write your question. If it is a specific question to a specific presenter, please write his name at the beginning so the person knows that he or she should answer. And if it's a more general question, you can write general or global. And as we have some time reserved for debate, we will answer some of these questions at the end of the webinar, and the number depends on the time we still have at the end. Okay, so this was all to introduction. Now we will start with the webinar. We will start with the first presentation about the Life IP Climas, which will be presented by Ana Cristina Pereira Rodriguez. She is an environmental engineer who holds a PhD in interdisciplinary landscape management. At the moment, she is project manager of the LIFE-IP Climas project, which is developed by the Regional Secretariat for Environment and Climate Change of the Government of the Azores. Her main research lines are climate change, urban planning, environmental economics, electric mobility, and renewable energies. Her working activities include quality and project management. She also works at university where she is lecturer and orientates theses.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I will just share my presentation. Is it available for everybody?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. On behalf of the government of the Azores, I would like to thank for the invitation to participate in this event, and would like to wish also to everybody, all the team, and all the participants, all the best. I will just put it on the full mode. So, LIFE-IP Climas is the regional program for climate change in the Azores, and it is coordinated by the Regional Directorate for Environment of the Azores. As you can see, we are located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, so you are invited to visit us anytime. As associated beneficiaries, we have other regional directorates for energy, for forest resources, for marine affairs, 2 municipalities, 1 electricity company, 1 agricultural cooperative, and 1 environmental management and nature conservation society. So it is a broad number of organizations which will be involved on this project. So it is transversal to all economy and to all government. Like the objectives, the main objective is to contribute to the implementation of PRAC. So it is the regional plan for climate change that it was defined some years ago. And we intend to improve the capacity to monitoring and reporting in climate change related matters, to deliver also climate change and other sectoral plans and strategies, and to tackle mitigation and adaptation actions. Mitigation actions by limiting greenhouse gas emissions in agriculture, energy, transportation sectors, and adaptation actions by using ecosystem-based approaches in forestry, land use, and water sectors. Also to improve territorial resilience to climate change and to raise awareness on climate change directed to organizations and to the public in general. So I will start by presenting each of the actions, just a summary, okay, for you to have an idea. This one is the planning and defining policies for continuous adaptation and mitigation on climate change. And on these, we will outline and implement a local climate adaptation strategy at the municipal level, then a specific regional plan for management and drought and water scarcity that we didn't have yet. Also the regional regulation on transport and distribution of electricity in the Azores. And we will review and adapt the regional plan for climate change, the regional energy strategy, the regional forest strategy, the flood risk management plan, and the land use plan. And also we will tackle the land use plans for specific areas, namely on the hydrographic basin. So about the action on internal and external capacitation, we will work hardly to capacitate the project beneficiaries to implement the actions that we have to do, but also other organizations, technicians, public in general related with PRAC activities, with the Program for Regional Climate adaptation and mitigation on Açores. So other actions more related with data collection and the viability risk analysis are to collect and analyze data on landslide in inland and coastal priority areas, to monitor biomass and carbon sequestration, and to collect data also on the safety and viability in electricity supply. So we all know that we cannot define any policies, any programs, any projects without data. And this is a crucial thing. So on information collection and management, we will increase coverage of climate monitoring in private farms, this with agrometeorologic stations, increase the coverage and improve the accuracy on climate and water monitoring, and for the Azores in general, and create a coastal management group that didn't exist yet to analyze all this data related to coastal management. As you know, we are islands and we are very exposed to extreme weather events, so this is really important. On the nature-based solutions for adaptation and mitigation to climate change, we will focus on removing invasive alien species and planting endemic species, on water reservoirs surroundings, on coastal areas, inland water lines and trails, and also to maintain and stabilize streams. And the agriculture is also really important on climate matters. So we will develop adaptation and mitigation measures with a demonstrative project with biodiverse pasture resilient to climate change, a pilot project using red algae to feed cows with low methane emissions, and a pilot project to reduce RCs pasture in previous peatlands areas. You know that peatlands are very good for carbon sequestration and for the regulation of the hydrological cycle. So this is also, even doesn't seem very connected with climate change, it has everything to do with climate change. On the adaptation and mitigation in the forestry sector, we will increase supply of native and endemic species for nature-based adaptations to convert pasture areas on and non-native forest in non-productive native forests. So this is really important, and this is a task sometimes difficult to implement because not always the landowners are willing to change the activities that they have. So this is a crucial role, and this will be a pilot demonstrative project in order then to leverage for other areas. Also a pilot project on the use of thermal methods to control alien invasive species, because nowadays this is being made with herbicides, glyphosate and others, which may bring problems for the environment. So one of the things really important for us in our point of view is to find other ways to control alien invasive species. Let's hope that this works. About the transportation and the energy sector, we have the promotion of decarbonization in transport. So we will deploy electric vehicle charging stations and buy some electric vehicles to do demonstration and pilot projects, trucks for the agriculture, for the forest services, bus for the municipalities, and cars then to use on a car share system. And then we will promote the shared and soft mobility under this that I told you before, with the deployment of a shared mobility platform and also with bike lanes. Then we go to adaptation and mitigation in the production, distribution and use of energy. And we intend to distribute incentives to substitute propane water heating equipment by solar photovoltaic panels or heat pumps. a pilot project to reduce emissions from fossil fuel electricity generation with an HFO emulsification system, and an energy storage system to allow for an higher renewables penetration in the electricity mix. This is really important. We cannot have more electricity coming from renewables if we don't have sufficient energy storage systems, because as you know, the islands are closed systems. So we cannot sell the energy to another country or to another island. We have to use it and we have to balance the demand and the supply. And then we want also to start to develop smart grids in a small scale, but we will start. On the adaptation and mitigation in the coastal and marine environments, to develop something really interesting in my point of view, a marine dynamic protected area management model. So this will tackle data collection, data handling, and the definition of dynamic models to decide whether we should keep static protected areas, or we can change this instituted management system for dynamic protected areas. So information is really crucial on this. Then we want also to develop a multiparametric oceanic network to assess and monitor oceanographic data and climate change data. And then we have, and then we will work also on public awareness and dissemination of results, and also on changing specific behaviors. So we will have specific actions to reduce bottled water consumption, as you know, with the plastics issue and with so many problems associated. We should increase water consumption from the municipal services if they have quality, and our aim is also to grant that quality. And this is all connected, because the streams go to the reservoirs for the capture of water to supply. So everything is connected on environment, and climate change has to tackle all the chains, all the systems, in order to attain what we want the targets for 2030 and the targets for 2050, and also increase the soft and electric mobility. So as expected results, just to finalize, we expect to improve knowledge and management instruments for adaptation and mitigation on the energy, forestry, tourism, watershed and coastal areas, agriculture and land use planning, to improve also resilience of habitats through ecosystem-based adaptations, to improve decarbonization of transport with demonstrative cases further leveraged, not only on the Azores, also on other places, to create an open desk office for coordination of complementary funds. This is really important. We cannot just stand with the funds that come from this project. This project is nearly 20,000 euros. It is co-participated by the European Union in 60%. But this is not enough to implement a regional strategy. So this coordination desk office for complementary funds is essential, is crucial to Portugal and to other places. I think it is something that would be very interesting to implement in other projects, and also to deliver an afterlife plan and a follow-up program. And finally, to leverage and replicate good practices coming from other projects, and also from our project, if we have them, to other projects in Azores and in other places. So thank you so much for your attention. I leave here my email and also our Facebook. So I invite you to follow us on Facebook and to follow the activities that we develop along the project. It will be 10 years, so we will have much time to know each other. And I would love to know each of you and to receive you in the Açores. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's a really interesting project. 10 years is a long time. Other projects which are just like 2-3 years. So this is a really long project. It's very transversal also, tackling many sectors, mobility, coastal areas, water. So it's very interesting. Thank you for your presentation. Now we will continue with the project Hydrousa, which will be presented by Eleni Nuftari. She is a chemical engineer on the position of postdoctoral researcher at the Sanitary Engineering Laboratory of the National Technical University of Athens. Her research activities include wastewater management, circular economy, and waste valorization.
Hello. Hello from me. Let me share my screen. I think I cannot share yet. I think Anna Cristina shall first stop sharing. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now, can you see my screen?
Not yet. We see now.
No? Okay. Okay, so hello from me. Thank you for the opportunity to share Hydrousa aspects. So I'm Eleni Nuftari from National Technical University of Athens. I'm here to introduce you to Hydrousa project. So some basic info about the project. This is a 4.5 years Horizon 2020 Innovation Action Project under the call water in the context of circular economy. We implement nature-based innovative solutions at the local level in order to close the water loops and boost the agricultural and energy profile in the Mediterranean region. 28 partners from 10 countries are involved in the project, with the National Technical University of Athens as the coordinator. The project is materialized through 13 innovations in 6 demo sites. We call them Hydro 1 to Hydro 6, in 3 Mediterranean islands. So each demo site was chosen according to the different characteristics, representative also for other med and coastal areas in general. So why there is a need to focus on water loops? The data until now for MED is not really optimistic. So the observed time series for the Mediterranean region precipitation for the last 40 years shows a high decrease. Especially the Med area is warming 20% faster than the global average, and we're already shown people already suffer from water scarcity and extreme water shortage in some cases. Also, the predictions are not optimistic, so we expect that the summer precipitation rates are going to decrease by 24 to 46% by the end of the century. So the water scarcity and the high touristic activities in some of the cases lead to the decrease of agricultural activities in this area. As agriculture is the prime consumer and needs more than 72% of the total consumption in the Med area. At the same time, water gives us an opportunity, as United Nations mentioned. So water plays an important role in how the world can mitigate and adapt to the effects of climate change. So what can we do, for example, for water scarcity? We can take advantage of the non-conventional water sources. How can we be protected from the extreme water events? We can make some. We can have some infrastructure implemented based on nature. Again, we need to enhance the agricultural activities by implementing also new practices like precision irrigation and together with ICT integration. And also have to ensure sanitation and food safety by monitoring the quality and by the implementation of short supply chain that we think is important in order to minimize the risks. So Hydrousa aims at closing all water loops at the local level, and this is important. We think we have to take advantage of local resources, promoting the concept of decentralized on-site water, material and energy conservation, but also treatment and reuse. So Hydrousa is approximately in the middle of its duration, but had been already identified between 11 projects as a key contributor to climate adaptation strategy of EU. So now I will invite you to watch a short video describing our vision on how we can close this circle.
Imagine a future summer day on an island, one of the hottest summers this island has ever seen. But wait, there is an oasis ahead. How is this possible? Let's see where it all started back in 2018 with Hydrousa, an innovation action project funded by the European Union with the ambition to create regenerative and nature-based water solutions. We are a constellation of international partners consisting of universities, research institutions, companies, NGOs, water utilities, and municipalities, and we are on a mission. Let's think for a moment. The Mediterranean region faces significant challenges. Dry zones, places with high touristic activity during the summer, problematic farming practices, wasted water resources. In revolutionize the water value chain by closing the loops, and the revolution is circular. We use a combination of techniques, both traditional, like local crops and natural irrigation systems, and modern, like ICT technology and online monitoring, mixed with biomimicry technologies, nature-inspired innovations. The journey of Hydrousa has already started in 3 Mediterranean islands. Let's take a look at how they work. On the island of Lesbos, we develop a rich agroforestry ecosystem. We treat domestic sewage by anaerobic processes coupled with constructed wetlands to produce biogas, which is upgraded to methane and used to fuel a car, sludge to be processed through an innovative compost cultivator, and treated water, free from pathogens, that will directly be used to fertigate and irrigate a 10,000 square meter field, including forestry trees, orchards, bushes, and herbs. On Mykonos Island, we install an innovative rainwater harvesting system on a remote dry hill to irrigate oregano and produce essential oils from it. Meanwhile, on the same island, we collect rainwater from the house's rooftops to provide water for domestic use such as toilet flushing, and to recharge groundwater sources for the irrigation of a lavender field. Moving now to Tinos Island, we apply an innovative and nature-based desalination system that mimics the mangrove plants to produce edible salt and to irrigate a tropical fruit greenhouse. On a different site of the island, we upgrade an existing ecotourism facility with a combination of a applications. The system aims to create self-sufficiency in terms of water, energy, and food production. All our systems are circular, creating holistic regenerative solutions that can be customized and integrated to local needs. This is our journey for now, but 26 more islands and coastal areas are about to follow, from France and Egypt to Mexico and Australia. We are a community of water allies. We are closing water circles and we come with solutions. Join the circle.
Okay, so
2 minutes.
imagine. So yeah, this is, if I wanted to show hydrogen in one picture, this is it. Integrated all the solution that lead to a complete circular example. So all the solutions are now ready and operational, so we can see some pictures. Here is, we're in Lesbos Island. This is the anaerobic treatment system on the top, the UASB, together with the constructed wetlands. So there, after the treatment and the disinfection, the natrium-rich water is used for the fertigation of 1 hectare that is completely self-sustaining, and we use water, nutrients, and produce sludge with significant economic benefits for the locals. So actually, there is an upcoming webinar next Thursday on 6th of May where you can learn more about Hydro 1 and Hydro 2 solution. Following up is Mykonos. There we went to a remote agricultural area and we implemented subsurface rainwater harvesting system. So we collect the water and use it for cultivation of oregano that we then put added value on that and produce essential oil. We have also Hydro 4 in Mykonos. We collect water for household needs and agriculture. And there we also implemented a bioswale system to prevent floods. So we collect the flooding water, partially treat it, and use it again for irrigation. Then going to Tinos Island, this is the mangrove still system, ready and operational, using the water produced for the cultivation of tropical fruits in the greenhouse. And then in Tinos, we also have Tinos Ecolodge. This is an ecotouristic facility where we exhibit the self-sufficient water management cycle of water, energy and food. We collect rainwater, vapor water, and treat also wastewater for irrigation needs. There, permaculture cultivation is applied with impressive results, as you can see also from the pictures. They are already giving the extra production to restaurants and to the locals. So just to sum up the key issues that Hydrousa needs to tackle is water scarcity by valorizing the non-conventional water sources that we don't do until now, to protect from extremes through nature-based systems as the bioswale that I mentioned. We try to restore barren land in these areas that are a lot, and support the biodiversity and the ecosystem restoration, through multi-cropping practices as agroforestry and permaculture, and of course the nature-based solution as the wetlands. For us, it's really important, the social perception in these issues. So we are studying the needs of local communities, try to engage them a lot in the solution with activities, with co-creation events. And of course, this impact will stay there for them. So thank you for watching, and please follow us to learn more about it. Thank you.
Anya, your microphone is out. Thanks.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Eleni. It also seems to be a very interesting project, although it focuses on water. You're including a lot of other sectors like the whole society, agriculture, biodiversity, flood management, and of course, water scarcity. So also for me, very interesting is to see that you're looking to close water circles at local level, because as we saw in the first presentation, islands are closed systems, so it is necessary to work on a local level. Thank you very much again. And we will go on with the project Adapt to Klima, which will be presented by Anna Karali. She's an atmospheric physicist. She's writing a PhD thesis on the simulation and assessment of potential fire risk in global and regional scale in the framework of climate change. Since 2010, she has been working as a research fellow at the National Observatory of Athens in the Climate Change and Impacts Group, participating in several European projects which focus on climate change impacts, climate services, and decision support tools. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen. Okay. I am Anna Karali, a research associate at the National Observatory of Athens, that was the coordinator of LIFE Adapt to Klima project. The overall aim of the project was to increase knowledge on the vulnerability of the Mediterranean agriculture to climate change and to support decision-making for adaptation planning. The project ended last February. The implementation area was comprised of 3 of the largest islands in the Mediterranean: Crete in Greece, Sicily in Italy, and Cyprus. 3 academic partners, together with 2 regional authorities, the region of Sicily and the region of Crete, together with a national authority, the Ministry of Agriculture of Cyprus, took part in the consortium. 6 typical Mediterranean crops were studied: olive trees, tomatoes, potatoes, barley, wheat, and vineyards. Now, the results of the project, first of all, is the assessment of climate change impacts on crop production for the 3 islands with the deployment of a set of climate, hydrologic, and crop simulation models. The development and the demonstration of a user-friendly and interactive decision support tool for supporting decision-making in agriculture, and the deployment of the tool to the 3 islands that led to the development of adaptation strategies for the agricultural sector. The total impact on agriculture was based on the terminology presented in the 5th assessment report of the IPCC. The total impact is a result of the interaction of climate change and the vulnerability of the exposed system and population. Climate change, the changes in temperature, precipitation, and solar radiation affect crop yield and water availability, while exposure and the vulnerability is considered to have an additional effect to the total impact. The implementation of adaptation measures can reduce impact and increase resilience of agriculture to climate change. The assessment was made at geospatial level so as to enable the identification of high-risk areas where adaptation measures should be implemented. In order to assess total impact, a combination of the relevant indicators was applied based on the composite indicator approach. The total impact has 2 main components: the impact on crops and the vulnerability, each of which can be further broken down to the indicators you can see in this slide. The individual indicators were normalized by applying the min-max method, while a 5-class system was applied representing values from low to high. Now, 2 state-of-the-art regional climate models have been used in the framework of the project at a horizontal resolution of 12 kilometers. The main climate change scenarios refer to the average climatic conditions for the near future, the period 2031 to 2060, under the moderate RCP 4.5 emission scenario and the extreme RCP 8.5 scenario. Therefore, the tool may serve for long-term adaptation planning. Additionally, the 4 extreme climatic conditions were examined in order for the tool to be used for short-term adaptation planning by farmers in case such extreme conditions occur in the near future. Here you can see the link to the decision support tool, which is available in 3 languages, English, Italian, and Greek. Let's see the main tool components. The tool provides information through interactive maps and graphs on climatic indicators relevant to agriculture. These indicators are relevant to the different phenological stages of the plant, the crop quality and production, hydrologic and drought indicators for specific areas at the islands, crop performance indicators for the different sowing seasons and precocity levels for each crop and scenario under study, socioeconomic indicators that were used in the climate change impact assessment, a list of adaptation measures and their evaluation by a pool of experts using a multi-criteria analysis, and the total climate change impact for each crop with or without the implementation of adaptation measures. Here you can see some examples of the above mentioned indicators. You can see mean summer maximum temperature for the near future under the extreme scenario for Sicily. The expected yield change for olive trees for an intense dry year under the extreme RCP 8.5 scenario for Crete. And at the bottom, you can see the total impact for olive trees under RCP 4.5 scenario, ranging from low to high for Cyprus. This is at municipal level. Now, the tool has been designed in order to meet the needs of different stakeholder and user groups, such as individual farmers and agricultural cooperatives that can be informed on the expected climate change impacts to their cultivations and on the available measures for adaptation, agronomists that can support farmers to the adaptation process, of course, national, regional, and local authorities that can gain an overall insight to the expected climate change impacts and identify the available adaptation measures to be included in adaptation strategies and policies, the academic community, NGOs and civil associations that can promote public acceptance of adaptation policies and push for governmental action. Besides the ILATs at hand, the Adapt2Klima tool can be applied to any region and municipality of Italy and Greece. In order to conduct the climate change impact assessment, the user has to insert the expected crop yield change and some economic data related to the examined crops. And this component can be used by the competent authorities in order to decide on the specific areas and the crops where adaptation measures should be implemented. Finally, in the framework of the project, 3 adaptation strategies of agriculture to climate change were developed. In Cyprus, the measures proposed in the strategy will be incorporated in the new rural development program of the island, as well as in the revised climate adaptation action plan. In Sicily, this strategy represents the first political orientation document towards a regional strategy, and will be used also as a streamline for the future planning of the new rural development program. And finally, in Crete, the results of the tool will be used in the regional adaptation action plan that is under development. Thank you very much for your attention. For more information, please visit the website of the project, adapt2klima.eu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Well, it's great to see that you developed a decision support tool for everyone, for agriculturals, for the administrative, for the local authorities. It's interesting. And for me, it's nice to see that you're also, well, you have different climatic scenarios, but you also looked on, do you use adaptation measures? Do you not use them? So you see there will be a difference. And I think the best thing that it works well is to see that they use it for planning their adaptation strategy. So I think it's a very nice result of the project. Thank you again. We will go on with the project NESOI, which will be presented by Alessandra Montanelli. She is a consultant at Synlog Spa. Synlog Spa is an Italian advisory and investment company which promotes local development through public and private initiatives. She has a master's degree in economics and finance and has been working on fostering energy transition, providing financial advisory to public entities and local authorities. Since the project's beginning, she is part of the EU Islands Facility NESOI coordination team.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Hope you can hear me well and see my screen. First of all, I like to thank you, the Conama Foundation, for inviting us here today, and thank you for organizing this very nice and interesting event. So today I'm going to introduce you the European Island Facility. So NESOI is an Horizon 2020 project kickstarted in October 2019 with the aim of supporting the European island in their energy transition process, facilitating the decentralization and decarbonization of energy system and contributing to European policies and targets. NESOI will deploy technical assistance activities supporting project promoter, both private and public entities, in their project implementation. In particular, we're going to allocate more than €3 million of resources to our beneficiaries, and we're also going to support them with direct technical assistance activities, so on-site support. Our target is to support something like 60 initiatives, and we have already a good pipeline ready to be kicked off. Moreover, we are working on developing a digital platform providing islands with training, best practices, and capacity building activities to further support also projects and islands which are not going to receive our direct assistance. So these are the main steps of the implementation of the NESOI process. So beneficiaries are being selected through competitive calls for proposals. We had already our first round in which applicants were asked to submit their application, their proposals online. After these proposals passed through a solid evaluation process to be scored and ranked. And after this, we have some shortlisted projects who will receive our technical assistance resources, so both as financial support and direct activities. So our approach is pretty innovative as it consists in a double support to project implementation. So on the one hand, we are allocating more than €3 million of resources as grant funding directly to beneficiaries, so that they can procure locally advisors and services to support their project. The maximum amount per each beneficiary is €60,000. But more than this, beneficiaries are going to receive also our assistance. So our team of experts is going to provide islands with direct activities. We are indeed a multidisciplinary team. We are 10 companies operating in Europe. And we are basically technical, economic and financial, but also legal and procedural advisors. So we will basically set aside the islands to support the project structuring and access to finance. What I also want to mention is that NESOI can rely on this very strong team, can support different projects and at different maturity levels. So, for example, we could support a local authority in developing its planning documents, for example, a sustainable mobility plan, but also we could develop a feasibility study to set up an energy community on public buildings. So we really can offer a wide range of activities, focusing also on any technologies which can contribute to basically energy transition. So what we cannot finance is actually the investment. So as I said, we can provide activities, services, and finance to procure additional services locally on islands. And we'll be more than happy to support you also in access to finance, so to dedicated fundings, which may be available on the market. In October 2020, we had our first call for projects, which was closed 2 months later in December, with more than 100 applications received and submitted online. After the evaluation, we had 28 projects shortlisted that are almost ready to start. Unfortunately, I cannot share so many details on this since the grant agreement preparation is still ongoing. But what can I say is that we're really happy with the results since we have received a lot of applications coming from all over Europe, in particular from more than 40 countries involving more than 85 islands. So this is a great result. We are really happy with this. And we're now going to support these 28 projects. We are going to provide for example, feasibility studies. We will focus on mobility, but we also have some projects focusing on energy communities. We have ports, we have RES involved. So a lot of technology, a lot of projects. We're almost ready to start, and the project will be kicked off in approximately 2 weeks, and our activities will last for a year. More than this, we are going to have another call for projects later this year in October 2021. The process will be basically the same of round one. So we're going to have an application process online, then the evaluation, and then the preparation for the action. The process will take approximately 5 months as a whole. So this time next year, we will be happy to launch additional projects supporting islands in their energy transition. What I also want to mention is are the areas of evaluation. So even if we're going to fine tune the process for October, these are the main chapters of the applications. So applicants will be asked to describe their project, of course, the technologies involved, the boundaries of the project, and the objectives they want to achieve through the realization of their initiatives. Another important aspect are the impacts. So we would like applicants to describe the impacts they intended to achieve for their projects. This is a very key aspect for the evaluation. So even if your project is not so ready, so even if you do not have a preliminary study already conducted, there's no need to worry. We just want you to estimate which could be the expected impact in terms of primary energy savings or avoided emissions. In addition to this, the first section will be dedicated to the execution and as a support. Also, this section will be very relevant since you need to focus on your project, of course, on what you have already done, the activities already performed, but more than this, on the activities that you need to take the project one step forward towards implementation. And the question is, what can ESOI do for you? So you need to identify which kind of support you may require to our facility. It could be a feasibility study, due diligence, legal support in terms of documents. We can offer a wide range of activities, but here you need to focus and ask for the right support for your project. And finally, the last section is dedicated on the beneficiary and the island ecosystem. So basically, we want to understand where will the project be implemented, who are the main stakeholders, which is the governance structure. So this section will be dedicated mainly to this. Okay, I think I said almost everything on our project and on the coming opportunities. I hope that everything was clear, but please do not hesitate to contact me or ask questions. I'm leaving here also our emails, and I'd be happy to answer to any doubt. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. So this time we saw a different perspective because all the time people were telling about their projects and you're more like an advisor for islands to, well, to realize the projects. And I think it's also a very interesting task you have, because all the programs have different maturity, so you have very varied tasks. When I saw the map, it was like you are having projects in all Europe. I saw Finland, Ireland, Spain, Greece. So nice. Thank you very much again. We will still go on with the energetic sector. Now the project Musica will be presented by Dr. Gordon Dalton. He is a renewable energy economics engineer and senior research fellow with 10 years as staff member of the Science Foundation Ireland Research Centre for Energy, Climate and Marine. He leads a research group which is called Economics and Business Development Group, and he has participated in several European projects which focus on blue growth, marine energy and responsible research.
Thank you, Anja. Thank you for the introduction. Just a note to Alessandra. Hopefully she will look at my slide, because the island that I'm going to be presenting about in the Aegean is considered to be an energy community. So at the end of the call, perhaps maybe we could exchange some emails to see how this could progress. I'm going to share my screens. You see here, I was looking at your call already on the website, so I'm very keen to progress this. Okay, can you see my slides?
It's okay.
Okay. Okay. So if I can this around. Okay, so well, that's the end of the slides. Sorry about this. Right, so I'm the coordinator of the Musica project. Musica stands for multiple use of space for clean island autonomy. So the consortium is spread across these countries. So Ireland is the coordinator. There's two other, University College Cork is the coordinator. There's two other partners, ICORSA and Neodyne. From the UK, we have one partner from Heriot Watt. We have 6 partners from Greece, University of the Aegean, Coral Shipyards, the Municipality of Chios, Daphne, which is the small island network, INSB certification body, and Forkis Aquaculture. From Malta, we have Aquabiotech and the University of Malta. In Germany, Simpower Wave Energy. In France, INSEE are an offshore engineering company. And from Spain, the Plocan fixed platform from the Canary Islands. Where's my slides not progressing? Okay, so this is an image of our fixed or floating offshore renewable energy platform. As you can see, there's a wind turbine of 800 kilowatts on a floating platform. There is 60 kilowatts of photovoltaics on the platform. We have wave energy at the side of the platform here. It's two 5 kilowatt wave energy turbines. Then we have a desalination unit in the container sheds on the platform, 100 kilowatts producing 500 cubic meters of water a day. And then we have a sophisticated energy management system in one of these container sheds. I'm going to do my pointer here. So there's 4 container sheds on the platform. Then we have a novel energy storage system called a high pressure energy storage. This high pressure energy storage will complement the batteries, which are also on the platform. Then we have an aquaculture cage, which is an offshore aquaculture cage, because this platform is going to be 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers offshore. So we're testing this aquaculture cage in offshore conditions, and the aquaculture cage will be supplied with feed and energy from the platform. This is the feeding arm here. So we have a water pipe bringing the desalinated water to shore, an electricity pipe going to shore as well, to a substation and an existing small desalination unit which distributes the water. We also have a novel floating refueling station here where we'll be supplying energy and water to yachts in a trial formation. So the overall objectives then of Musica. The aim of objective of Musica is to decarbonize the energy system of small islands, including their marine economy, ecosystems, territorial waters, and surrounding seas. Musica will achieve this by utilizing sea-based multiple use of space platform, which is MUP, and multiple use of space, that's MUS, to form a mobile marine technology park solution supporting a mixture of blue growth industries. So the project is a €9 million project. It started in January 2020, so we're 15 months into the project. It's a 5-year project with 15 partners. Objective number 1 then is we're going to contribute to achieving high levels of local renewable energy source penetration. Objective 2, provide a complete smart energy system, including a highly integrated digital smart grid. Objective 3 then, to achieve a very significant reduction in the use of hydrocarbon-based energies and fossil fuel consumption. Objective 4, provide an innovative energy storage facility on the MUP for the island energy management using a system created by Neodyne Ireland. Objective 5, develop innovative, effective business models for the Musica solution, which will enable economically viable replication immediately to the island of Chios, Gozo in Malta, and El Hierro in Gran Canaria, and to at least 40 islands. So this is the commercialization objective. So there's 2 objectives. One is that the platform will stay in the Nusus Chios area itself and supply energy and water to the island, which I'll explain in a minute. And this is why I would like Alexandros to talk to me about the energy cooperative. But the second commercialization is to commercialize the platform itself, build multiple replications and sell it to islands across Europe and the world. Objective 6, address the non-technical barriers and challenges, including environmental, regulatory, legal, data security, and health and safety. This will be a major barrier for Musica. Musica is achieving its pilot in Nusus and Chios purely because it's a research demonstration pilot, and much of the regulatory barriers do not exist. But once Musica goes commercial, all these barriers become very real barriers, particularly in Europe, because there's no multiple use of space, marine spatial planning laws that enable the platform to deploy in hybrid provision solutions. So these will need to be addressed, and Musica may need to go outside Europe to be able to sell its platform initially until Europe solves these non-technical barriers. Objective 6 then is to maximize the acceptance and use of renewable energy supply and decarbonization plans by the islanders by embedding the principles of responsible research and development, or RI. So the deployment then, for those familiar with the Aegean, this is Chios and Lesbos. The island of Nusus is here, and the platform will be deployed here. So the population of Nusus is 800 people. It's grid connected to Chios with a connection that is unreliable. Nusus imports fresh water, and most of the public offices and services are provided by the municipality of Chios. So what are the advantages then to the Nusus community? First of all, Nusus suffers from frequent blackouts and electricity shortages because it's got a very small connection to Chios. So this would be the main advantage to the community. During the test phase of the project, Musica will provide free electricity to the island and free desalination water to the island. So this is a very immediate advantage to cooperate with the project during the trial phase. After the project is finished, the platform will become available to the island community in some form of cooperative. And this is why I want to speak to Alexandra about the island energy community. Musica will provide training and workshops on career opportunities in floating offshore renewable energy platforms. Aquaculture will be moved further offshore, and the advantage is that more opportunities for new locations for cages offshore are acceptable to islanders. Aquaculture cages offshore would produce less pollution, which is more acceptable to the community. And aquaculture becomes much more profitable and more able to be exploited. This gives more jobs then for the industry. Finally, the floating refueling station will bring more yachts and tourists to the island and provide a future revenue for the island for the sale of this electricity and water to yachts. For the timeline of the project, so we've already mostly finished year one with the concept and design. Year two is in the detailed design now and getting the environmental consents, the consents to stock the cage with aquaculture, and the cable and grid consents. Year three will be the building and deploying. So we're planning to deploy the platform in Enousses in August 2022. And then we'll begin the 2 phases of the trial, trial 1 and then trial 2. So further paths to commercialization. This is the platform, which will be a larger platform, around 2 megawatts, which could provide a series of multiple small islands, or in a large island like Chios or Cyprus, or Gran Canaria. There could be multiple small platforms deployed in areas which have very poor local grid connection. Also, we could have a series of platforms in a triangle formation which provide a protected zone for aquaculture to be deployed in this protected area. And the final slide then is that in the European Green Deal, the policy officer for Musica, Ivan Canessa Alcuea, declared that the Musica project is one of the European Commission's flagship projects. And the Musica project is listed as an example of EU-funded research projects already producing results that will help deliver the Green Deal. So that's the end of the presentation. I do have a 2-minute video, exactly 120 seconds. Have I got time to present this video, or will I just send the link for the video on the chat? Will I share the video?
You can present it.
Yeah, no problem.
So am I still sharing my screens?
Yes.
I'll share my screens again. Sorry, I have to unshare again because with the sound, I have to turn on this share sound.
Many islands and coastal areas are remote from major electric and water grids and often suffer from blackouts. Most communities rely on expensive imports of fossil fuel for power, which are harmful to the environment and public health. The island of Enousses, located in the northeast Aegean region of Greece, was selected by the European Union for a trial solution to these problems. If successful, the results will immediately benefit Enousses and help advance around the world. The innovative Musica project team is developing a multi-use platform, or MUP, that will generate electricity from the wind, waves and sun to boost local energy supply. Plus, enough desalinated water will be produced on the platform to meet daily needs of the island. Fish farm operations will also be based here. The multi-use platform makes use of available energy resources, offers related job opportunities and saves costs by combining activities in one space-efficient package. Musica experts seek the views of community groups, fishermen, tourism operators, and marine researchers to learn how Musica can work for small islands from islanders themselves. Once the Inusis MUP is operational in 2024, Musica aims to copy and deliver similar models to neighboring Chios, Gozo on Malta, and El Hierro on Gran Canaria. More than 40 EU islands might benefit by 2050. The Musica project team invites you along the journey as we pioneer solutions to island and coastal energy deprivation with clean, renewable, and affordable resources for the future. Multiple use of space for island clean autonomy. Musica.
Thank you very much. I hope that came through okay.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you very much. Very interesting also the combination of providing energy and...
From sunny Stromness, Orkney in the far northwest.
Sorry.
Well, as I said, it's very interesting for me to see that you're combining water and energy production, which overall for Mediterranean areas will be very important in some years with ongoing climate change. So let's hope that the local people will see the advantages of the project and that the commercialization will work well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we are going on. Our next project is Women on Islands, Leaders of Sustainable Tourism, which will be presented by Marta Ferretti. She is project manager at the SMILO Secretary, supporting stakeholders in the implementation of concrete actions in small islands. Formed in international relations and European and international law, she already worked on environmental advocacy consultancy and for the UN on issues related to climate change and food security.
Thank you very much, Anya. Hi, everyone. And thank you very much to the CONAMA Foundation for the invitation. I will just quickly share my screen and hopefully that will work. Can you all see my screen?
It's okay.
Okay, so I'm trying to just make it full screen. Okay. Okay, let me know if in case it doesn't work. So hi everyone, I'm Marta Ferretti from SMILO, which is a small islands organization. So for those of you who don't know SMILO yet, it's an international NGO that supports small islands of less than 150 kilometers square to have a sustainable management of their territory. We have quite a global approach of an island. We take into consideration both marine and terrestrial issues, and we focus on 5 main priority themes, as you can see on the image. So it's water and sanitation, energy, waste management, biodiversity conservation, and landscape and heritage conservation. Within these main categories, we have what we call transversal themes, which are very important and on which we work, but always from those 5 themes lens, which are, for example, sustainable tourism, sustainable fishing and agriculture, and obviously climate change adaptation and mitigation. Our specificity is that we have a certification process that delivers a label that is called Sustainable Island. And within this process, we really work in partnership for generally quite a few years with all the main stakeholders of an island. So public institutions, NGOs, local businesses, the inhabitants, and so on. And what we do is we help them create a diagnosis. We help them identify together all the main objectives they want to achieve to become sustainable. And we also help implementing some of those concrete solutions. As you can see on the map, we're also an international network. We mostly work in Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean, but we're also open to collaborations on other continents. But today I've been asked to present one of the many projects that we are implementing, and this one focuses on women on islands as leaders of sustainable tourism. This is a project that we are implementing thanks to the support of the Anna Lindh Foundation and the European Union. The overall objective of this project is to help diversify the sustainable tourism offer on 4 islands, so Kerkennah in Tunisia, Brownsea in the UK, Lastovo in Croatia, and Paros in Greece. The idea is really to help reduce the dependence on mass and seasonal tourism. Also, as we've seen in the past year, there's been COVID-19 has really highlighted the vulnerability of this sector and the dependence of islands on tourism. And the project also highlights the role of women and supports the action of local organizations that are led by women to show that women too can be the drivers and the leaders of the transition we need. So obviously I'm not going to go into the details of the whole project, but I just wanted to highlight the main aspects of it. The first part is we've started collaborating with the Travel Foundation, which has a very specific and interesting approach when it comes to tourism. They really focus on analyzing what they call the hidden cost of tourism. So the impact on water consumption or the impact on the cost of housing for the inhabitants and so on. So what we are doing with them is to support our partners, identify, measure and manage the impact of tourism using an impact management framework. And based on that analysis, each partner is creating a roadmap to identify a few concrete actions that can be led in the next 2 to 3 years. So with this project, we are financing, let's say, pilot projects to really kick off some of those ideas. Maybe just as a statement a bit, but at Smilo, we really are firm believers that sometimes even small scale and low-tech solutions can be very suitable and have a huge impact for Ireland. So you don't always necessarily need 3 million euros to actually make a difference. So in this case, in this project, yes, we have focused on developing alternative touristic products and experiences, but also, when possible, try to bring an added value for the community and always keeping in mind on how we can lower the impact of human activities on the island. Yes, can you still see the slide? I think it's, yeah, okay, I think it's fine. So in Lastovo, we have a family farm that is producing olive oil, which is a traditional activity in Lastovo, and it is run by Annette. And among the things that we are doing with them is we are helping them plant 60 olive trees on a new plot with an approach that really focuses on strengthening the fertility of olive trees and therefore the production yields. We also have an expert in agrobiodiversity that is taking cuttings from an endemic species of olive trees from the island to replant it and therefore preserve a diversity in the species that are present on the island, which is also very important when we talk about climate change adaptation. And at the end, there will be an event for visitors to discover their whole approach, their global approach, how they produce this olive oil, and obviously have a taste of their products. The idea is obviously here to increase the production for this family, to sell to the community, to the region, but also to create and test if this is also a touristic product that could be implemented in the long term. So, for example, by having guided tours in the area. Then for Kerkennah in Tunisia, You may know that on this archipelago, women have traditionally learned the art of making objects with date palm leaves. But as in many places, it's a know-how that the younger generation has lost or is forgetting. And at the same time, 60% of the island lives directly from fishing activities. And one of the traditional traps that the fishermen use is made out of date palm leaves. To produce those objects, you have quite a huge amount of green waste that is produced as well, as you can see on the lower picture. And so that's a problem that the community has to deal with. And so what we've thought of with this project was to link the traditional knowledge with reusing and giving a value to that waste, which would generally be burned or have to be dealt by the community. Just to give you a number, if you burn 50 kilos of green waste, it's like the equivalent of emitting fine particles that a car would do by going around 18,000 kilometers. So it's quite a huge impact in terms of cutting the pollution when you deal with the green waste in a more sustainable manner. At the end of this pilot action, there will be also, sorry, I forgot to mention. So what we're doing here is older women are training the younger generation on how to make objects from the date palm leaves. And at the end of the project, there will be a competition with a prize to win for the best product idea. But most importantly, what they will do is there will be an exhibition stand in the summer for the community and the visitors to discover. And the ultimate aim of the municipality is to create a traditional craft center on the island to promote all the other traditional knowledge, which most of it is protected by the UNESCO Intangible Heritage List.
2 minutes left.
Yeah, thank you. I'm almost there. Then on Brownsea, I know maybe for Mediterraneans, it's a less known island, but in the UK, it's really an island that is kind of like a lab and is an example in terms of sustainability. And it's an island that is mostly owned by the National Trust, which is a charity that owns and protects land in the UK. In this case, the pilot action focuses on increasing local food procurement on the island for visitors and the inhabitants. And in particular, the aim is to introduce locally sourced fish in the menus for the visitors. In this case, the beneficiary is a small local fish company called BH Fish. And there's an expert in food safety management system that is helping them review their product quality criteria and also to help them fit to the criteria of the National Trust to become a provider of the National Trust on Brownsea. At the end, there will be a tasting event for visitors to discover other local products, including fish products that are typical from the culinary tradition. And it's obviously also a good opportunity to raise awareness on the importance of eating local, seasonal, and sustainably sourced food. Obviously, when you eat locally, then you will cut on the energy that is needed for transport, and you also cut on GHG emissions. Then finally, the last example is from the island of Paros. And this may sound more familiar to most of you. In Paros, like many islands in the Mediterranean, there's a huge issue of seasonal tourism, so mostly in the summer, with mostly visitors that want to enjoy the beach. And so there's a high need to diversify the touristic offer. And so with the pilot action of this project, the objective is to support the local association of women to create a new activity, which would be to create a guided tour to visit all the places that produce local wines and spirits, which is one of the oldest traditions on the island. And for that, we have the association called Fotoesa, which is specialized in creative entrepreneurship and will help the women create a business plan. So on this project, you can really see is the very beginning and try to kick off that idea. At the end, they've just highlighted some of the few quite obvious expected results. But I won't go too much into detail of that, as I think I'm running out of time. But I just hope that with these few examples, you can see how islands can really be the leaders and living labs of sustainability for our future. So I'm happy to discuss this further during the discussion if you have any questions. And again, thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Marta. For me, it's fun. These are very different and very interesting pilot actions you are developing. It's like you say, small actions with little money, but they will have a great impact on the local community. And it's also nice to see that you're really focusing on the value for the local community, but because we all know that mass tourism, well, many times makes disappear local customs. So it's nice it's a way to gain them again. Well, now we are coming to our last presentation. It's called Adapt Island and will be presented by Dr. Pascaline Gabory. She holds a PhD in political science and is the director of Pilot for DEVE. Pilot for DEVE is an initiative which connects stakeholders. Her work focuses on resilient cities, climate change, international cooperation, culture, and gender. And her projects are located in different countries and regions. Currently, for example, she works as expert for the project CRIC, Climate Resilient and Inclusive Cities, which is taking place in Indonesia, India, and Southeast Asia.
Well, thank you very much, Anya, for inviting me. Thanks to the Foundation CONAMA. Muchas gracias por la invitación. It was really, really interesting to listen to the other presentations, and we see that there is a real room for cooperation and maybe exchanges of knowledge further than this conference. I'm going to present the Life Adapt Island project, which, as its name says, is co-funded by the LIFE program of the European Union, like some of your other projects. And what is maybe a bit different is that it's implemented in only one island, which is the island of Guadeloupe, which is located in the Caribbean as one of the European outermost territories. And it is implemented by the Guadeloupe Harbor Authority. So it means that this is a public-private organization. It's a public organization, but working with the private customers. So this is, and this harbor is also the landowner of several areas of Guadeloupe, which explains why they have developed a large environmental program, mainly based on nature-based solutions. So why did they do that? It's because Guadeloupe is really exposed and vulnerable to climate change. It's exposed to hurricanes, soil erosions, it's exposed to strong winds and to flooding. On the top of this, it is also exposed to coral bleaching and deforestation. So our project aims at restoring ecosystems, corals, seagrass meadows, and mangroves. So we have identified several sites for this restoration. And this is a binary initiative to test the methodologies of restoration and to replicate them in a later phase to other territories and maybe to other islands. So this is why we're really interested to keep in contact with your organizations to see if there is possibility of cooperation when we will create a committee for replication of the project. So the key objectives are to develop an innovative nature-based adaptation strategy, to restore connections between coastal ecosystems, to involve civil societies and communities, and this is one of the main challenges, especially in this time of pandemics, and to replicate innovative techniques in other islands and maybe also in other islands in the Caribbean. This is a little bit the actions of our project. So as Anya has said, it's based on the biodiversity, but not only, because it's really based on nature-based solutions, and we have identified that mangroves are creating a protection against the climate change. So we are really aiming at restoring several hectares of mangroves. For the corals, we are working on different methodologies, mainly the collection of fragments, seeds and propagules, the creation of nurseries underwater, the evaluation, and the restoration areas. And for seagrass meadows, we are also testing several methodologies to see how they can survive and how to remove the pressures from the territory. So what we see actually in our project is that it's very difficult to restore the areas without removing the pressures. So this is why we are also working on waste management, creation of eco-marines to decrease the pressures on the ecosystems and to make sure that the restoration actions are more efficient. So what we have in the project, in the first actions is the planning, and we are faced with a lot of governance issues. As you understand, we need to go through a lot of administrative authorizations, and there we can see as well that sometimes the regulations are not adapted to allow this innovation and this adaptation. So there are, for instance, regulations to protect turtles, to protect all the species, to protect corals. So for any action we do, we need to seek administrative authorizations, which are a little bit delaying the process, but which are also important. And then we have the rehabilitation and restoration of ecosystems. This is the main actions, so the restoration actions. We also invest in the laboratory of actions to also improve the methodologies. We also have one part dedicated to monitoring and evaluation, especially on the ecosystems, but also the social economic impacts of the projects. And last but not least, there is a large part of awareness raising and dissemination with awareness campaigns, involvement of sales club, involvement of local schools, communication strategy on the transportation hubs, establishment of an underwater restoration trail, and working also with other Caribbean organizations to see how we can sustain and replicate the project. We're also interested to exchange with other European islands, also of course, the biodiversity and the communities. So we started in July 2019. We are now 1 year and a half, and this is a 5 years project. We have achieved several results. We have created nurseries for mangroves. We have created 2 coral farms, which are underwater and which corals will be restored probably in the next month. And we have also started the communication strategy, although we've been slowed down by the pandemic, but we've been working with schools, we've been working with communities, with sales organizations. I would like to say that, of course, this is not easy. As I think any kind of restoration, natural solutions, it's really also faced with questions of governance, so we had to set up conventions, for instance, and contracts with other public authorities on the territory to make sure that everybody was on board the actions and that there would not be any problems later on in the maintenance or in the replication of actions. So thank you very much for your attention. That was a little bit a short presentation, but this is our project is on the one hand really ambitious, but also on the other hand really simple. This is the website of the project, caribe.fr/life@islands. And for the work of our organization, which is a small Brussels-based NGO, it's at pilotstafette.com, as Anya said, we're involved in several projects, but this one being very important, we think, as it's tackling at the same time questions of climate change, awareness raising, and restoration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, Gabrielle. Thank you for your presentation about the project Adapt Island. It's nice also to see a project which has a more nature-based adaptation strategy as objective. You're talking about restoring ecosystems and the connectivity between ecosystems, and at the same time, these are ecosystems which are very, I don't know how to say. It's not where it's in the Caribbean, so it's a totally different environment, but it's still Europe. So thank you very, very much. It was very interesting. Thank you very much to all the presenters. We have one question which was sent in the chat. I will read it out loud. Well, Patricia Klett from the Spanish Climate Change Office is asking in general, or for example, to Eleni Nictari, Gordon Dalton, or Marta Ferretti. I found the concept of multiple use of space very interesting, but at the same time difficult to put into practice. And I would like to ask whether any of the speakers could tell us about the main barriers or limitations you have found in implementing any of the measures you have shown.
I come in. I said in my presentation that currently in Europe, marine spatial planning is almost exclusively for single use of space. So marine spatial planning that has regulatory authority for multiple use of space is only legal, as far as I know, in the country of Belgium, where they have permitted wind farms to co-locate with aquaculture. The only other country in the world that I'm aware of outside Europe is South Korea, that is also now mandating that they are permitting an offshore wind farm with aquaculture as well on a very large scale. The Musica project is only proceeding in Greece and in the Aegean because it's a pilot project. And the normal regulatory requirements are vastly reduced because it's a research project. It is anticipated that because Europe does not have regulatory rules in national jurisdictions to cover hybrid multiple use of space, that Musica will not be able to sell its platform and deploy in Europe. So the marketing exercise for Musica will mostly be in the Caribbean, Indonesia, etc., where marine spatial planning regulations are not as rigorous or as restrictive. It is hoped that Europe will address multiple use of space in marine spatial planning as an urgency. Scotland is trying to tackle it, has a sort of a roundabout way of deploying in multiple use, but it's not in regulation. The other non-technical barriers are providing, I suppose, the connection points to service an island. So all I could recommend is that good pre-planning and site selection, where points where the electricity cable will come to shore and the water pipe will come to shore, or any other connection to shore, is done as efficiently and as economically as possible. These have to be viable, otherwise reducing energy and water with nowhere to go in an economic way is pointless. One of the main attractions of the Musica platform as well is that it's mixing energy with aquaculture. Aquaculture has never been demonstrated in a multiple use with wind before. So Musica is going to be a very important mini trial project. The shared use of resources, such as will the platform successfully provide enough feed for the offshore aquaculture cage, needs to be demonstrated. Will it provide enough energy for the feed system and for electricity? And will it provide any shelter in this offshore environment that will make moving the aquaculture cage offshore really viable. So a lot of people are looking at interest for this project, and the musical project will have proof that the non-technical barriers are vastly reduced, if not eliminated, by the demonstration of this trial.
Thank you very much, Gordon. I don't know if someone else wants to say something to this question, or if we go to another question. Okay, let's go on. Another question, which is also more general and for all the presenters. Are you using European forums like work groups or nets to share experiences and foment replicability in other islands?
Yeah, if I could come in, I'm not the dissemination and communication person for the musical project, but certainly if we could have, if those forums could be listed here, I could transfer those forums to the dissemination person. We are engaging with a number of small island networks, particularly one of our partners, the Daphne, which is a group of Greek islands, and also with IRENA, but the more networks that we communicate with, the better. So we very much appreciate those one or two references that you listed there in the chat, and I will forward that on to a person.
Yes, maybe I can also add that I think the issue of finding the best way to share good practices is something that a lot of networks kind of in a way struggle with. I think a lot of networks have tried, the forms to have on websites, but the problem is generally people don't know where to find them, or it's accessible only to some people, some islands. So definitely something that would be useful is maybe a center that would gather all that data. To some extent, this is something we're trying to do at Smiler. So we are currently rethinking a platform and trying to convey all the good practices that we also see on the islands we work with that are being implemented, even obviously without Smiler. But I think the challenge is what's the best format to share and disseminate those good practices. Sometimes, to be honest, the forms are not very sexy and appealing for most island stakeholders. So is it, even if we do make them, and then there are obviously events that networks in general organize, and these are really good opportunities for islands to meet and get a better idea of the good practices. I think there's a lot of huge efforts that's being done by so many networks and the people that are present here today as well. And so I think there's a really good effort, but I think we can still maybe, they still need to figure out what's the best way to convey and maybe center that data.
Thank you very much also to Marta. Anyone else wants to say anything? So I think we just will close the session. Thank you very much for your presentations. Thank you very much also to our visitors who were writing in the chat, who were making it possible, who are interested to see the projects on climate change adaptation on European islands. For me, it was very interesting. I hope you also liked it. And well, let's, we just thought of make a photo of all. I don't know.
I will take the picture, so just smile. Oh. That's fun, thanks.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Voy a finalizar, ¿vale?
Vale.
Así ya cierra la grabación y hay que editar menos.